Hi, I'm Martin Mulcare, and today I'm chatting with Crystal Mai.
Hi, Martin. Good to join you.
Well, Crystal, we want to talk about your non-business experience, but let's start by telling us a bit about your day job.
Yeah, so I'm a qualified actuary and currently working as a data scientist at Boston Consulting Group. It's more non-traditional role, and my work's primarily been around helping companies make better decisions with their data, and more recently in Gen AI. Prior to that, I worked as an actuarial consultant at PwC in the health and government space.
Okay, thanks. Well, that's helpful context for where you might apply some of the skills we're about to hear about. So tell us more about your non-actuarial role. Let's start with your experience as a netball umpire.
Yeah, outside of work, I've been a netball umpire for over a decade. It started off with me thinking it'd be a cool way to get paid to exercise, and it's become a huge passion and learning journey. Over the years, I've progressed from grassroots netball, so umpiring at my local courts, to the New South Wales Premier League, which is the state's top competition. I also mentor umpires now to share my learnings and help others grow.
Wow. Oh, that's very impressive, especially for people not familiar with it. Yes, Premier League is serious netball in the state of New South Wales. Crystal, mentoring as well as umpiring, what are some of the skills, lessons that you've learned through that almost decade of umpiring and umpiring at a senior level that you've been able to apply in the workplace?
I've got three key ones for you. The first is that passion fuels presence. I love umpiring, and it's shown me the importance of having a passion, having something that gets you into a flow state. During my games, I'm so focused that I forget about the outside world, including work. I'm focused on being the best umpire that I can be, and usually that means pushing myself physically to sprint as fast and as hard as I can, and then mentally to react and recover. The energy that I get from umpiring naturally carries into my work. It keeps me refreshed, it gives me clarity, and it helps me show up with presence and momentum. I think that having a passion outside of work makes you more sociable too. It gives you stories to share. It helps you connect with people on a more human level. And in the corporate world, I think that ability to build genuine relationships with colleagues and clients is invaluable.
Okay, so
Second,
that's yeah, passion and presence. So I get the way you described it, the sense of presence at work. How does passion play out for you in the workplace?
for me, it's about the energy that I bring.
Okay,
Having something that I'm so passionate about that I can speak so freely and intensely about, I feel brings a sort of energy that allows me to connect with people on kind of a more emotional level and talk about things that aren't just work related.
okay. No, very clear. Okay, so first, passion and presence. Tell me about the second.
Second is around finding and backing my voice. As a young female umpire, I constantly had my authority challenged and often by people older than me. In the games, I've got players, spectators, and coaches all shouting down my back. They get very invested. I had to learn to stand up for myself, to build rapport, and to earn their respect. And that's shaped how I show up at work. To be honest with you, I'm often physically the smallest in the room. So I had to learn to expand my presence. Umpiring's helped me learn to find my voice, be willing to speak up, and not be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Okay, so I get that you can be a little bit more imposing on the court. You've got, you've got a whistle. You can use your voice. How does that play out in the workplace when you're the smallest person, the most junior. There's older people with what was your term, who are invested in a particular topic. How does it work out for you?
I think in two ways. First is that it's given me the confidence to not be afraid to speak up. And second, it's the little things that help me build that confidence. So things like in netball, you're told to stand up straight, to act like you're confident. So those little signals help me bring that confidence.
Sure. Okay, so that's the second, that sense of voice and confidence. What's the third?
Oh, that was just two.
Oh, sorry,
Oh, sorry. When you say third lesson.
yeah.
Oh, yes. That one is around remaining calm under pressure. Umpiring's trained me to make split-second decisions, recover quickly from mistakes, and project a confidence that I didn't always feel. In business environments where you're often faced with tight deadlines, high stakes conversations, or you might get unexpected curveballs, I've found that the ability to stay composed and adaptable has
Mm.
been invaluable.
Okay, that would make sense to me, that sense of composure, calmness that you learn under stress in on the netball court. I can see that might play at work, or that'd be quite different in business where the netball stress might be very short, 5 seconds, a particular incident, whereas worker might be over a longer period of time. How do you be able to adapt that short-term composure to a slightly longer sense of calm?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, it's been more around the mindset. So in netball, you've got those short, like you said, kind of quick bursts, and you're immediately having to change your mind on something and react. And therefore, you have a lot of little spaces for practice. And it's kind of a really quick learning cycle where you act on the feedback straight away. And so, through that sense, you kind of apply it in a similar way at work, even though it's over a more extended period.
Sure. Yeah, I imagine that the viewers, the listeners, may not have been really expecting that sort of application of a netball umpire's skills, talents, experiences to the workplace. They might be even more interested than in another field of volunteering. Tell us, my understanding is you've spent some time with volunteering at the SES as well.
Yeah. For those who haven't heard of the SES, it's the State Emergency Services, and it supports our community during storm, flood, and tsunami events. So I'm a volunteer with the SES, and in New South Wales, storms are the most common. So I usually spend my time training and then responding to these events. So what that looks like is clearing trees off roads after a storm, putting up tarps on damaged roofs, and sometimes joining land searches. Through this, I've learned a lot of practical skills like tying knots and first aid, as well as soft skills. So where it's more relevant is, for example, I've worked with a lot of very diverse teams.
Sure,
I can share a story of one time I went on a land search.
sure,
We went out in teams of 8 to search for a man or a body. We didn't know at this stage whether he was dead or alive. It was a 38-degree day, very hot, and for hours we trudged through thick bushland. The older volunteers in our team were struggling to walk, and at some point we all suffered some sort of injury. By the end of our search, there was still no man or body. And this was a fortunate case. The man was actually found alive the next day. But really, that experience, among others, taught me to appreciate the different strengths that people brought. I don't think I would have made it out safely without the team. And so for me, being part of the SES has been a lesson in teamwork, perspective, and resilience. I've been able to meet people from all walks of life through this volunteering, and these experiences have really given me empathy, an appreciation for diverse strengths, and also an ability to stay focused on the bigger picture when things get tough.
Okay. So SES volunteering, especially given the way you've described it, Crystal, very different to netball umpiring, um, and some different lessons, different learning. So how have you applied those SES experiences in the workplace?
For me, it's been about the kind of teamwork skills that I've been able to bring. So SES has very much taught me to be a team player and to be able to work and have empathy for different kinds of people. I think as an actuary working in the consulting space, you also meet very different kinds of people, people who aren't so technical, as an example, and learning to then be able to empathize and therefore communicate with them in a way that relates to them as opposed to kind of your own thinking.
Yeah. Okay. That's I guess it must be very powerful with, being able to have that A, sense of team and also B, that sense of empathy when you're mixing with some quite focused people in the workplace.
Yeah.
Um, And so, just thinking about your two very different activities, the umpiring and the SES, were some other observations from your experience from getting away from work and contributing in very different ways to society?
One question that I get asked a fair bit is how I have time for these things, especially with my career in consulting.
Yeah.
Truth is, time management inevitably becomes second nature when you have passion outside of work. So I think in our busy lives, it's always hard to find time. Instead of kind of trying to find time, I think it's about finding something worth making time for.
Yeah. Yeah, the time management dimension, I mean that is a really important skill, in fact, probably in my opinion, an underrated one. So it must be very difficult for the demands of a consulting role, especially the one you've got at the moment. When you've got a fixed time that you need to be at the netball court. So I understand being able to prioritize when you've got freedom of how you use your 24 hours, 168 hours a week. But when you've actually got a set time you need to be somewhere, how does that how do you work with that and your demands in a consulting environment?
You've pinpointed exactly my struggle sometimes, Martin. It's definitely difficult, particularly when I'm traveling for work. For me, it's about setting boundaries. I've got a netball game at 7 o'clock in the evening. I need to be out by 5:30. So communicating that to the team and making that very clear. It's, yeah, I think all about the setting boundaries clearly and communicating it early.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm most impressed with your sense of the word boundaries in this context. Right, a topic for another day for We Are Actuaries about the importance of boundaries, how we communicate them, and how we, almost insist that people respect our boundaries. Yeah, great lesson. Thanks, Crystal. Good reminder. So we've got a range of viewers, listeners. What's your advice for them, either in the sense of volunteering or in the sense of them thinking about their skills and talents that they may have from a non-business environment?
Find something that you're passionate about and invest in it. You won't need to look for growth. That growth will come to you and it will flow into other parts of your life.
Nice, neat summary. Can I just explore it a bit further, please? Because the way you described how you got into netball and the way you described how you got into the SES, it didn't sound like you knew that there was a passion for it when you signed up. So I'm really interested is in your advice to people. Is it have a go and then find what's a passion, or do you think there was an element for you of knowing deep down you had some type of passion for these non-business activities?
That is a great question, Martin. I think for the SES, it was to some degree. I knew that I liked having a sense of purpose bigger than myself. And so wanted to give back to the community and had always loved swimming as a child. So kind of naturally, I felt very drawn to the SES. Netball umpiring, to your point, I did more kind of fall into it. I definitely didn't expect how physically challenging it would be. And from that perspective, the lesson there was really just embracing things that came my way. But to some extent, it was also very much investing in it.
Mhm.
And even though I didn't start off being passionate, or I guess in some sense I did, I was passionate about exercising and earning money at the same time.
Yeah,
That kind of developed into a
sure,
different sort of passion.
sure. Well, Crystal, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a treat having a chat. I'm fascinated with your activities and how they fit with work, but especially, and I just hope that the readers and listeners get prompted to think about their own skills and talents that they perhaps have been learned in a different environment that they can bring to the workplace, just as you have clearly brought a range of very useful skills into your workplace. So thank you very much again for sharing your experiences with us today.
It's been my pleasure and definitely look forward to hearing about what things the actuaries get up to.
Sure.